taking some time to stop and say thank you to the people that are responsible for you being here today. I think that those things are really important. So building my network. The downgrade that I had in my career, right, was actually going from industry into public. Very small, but it was still, okay, starting over, right, a little bit.
Hello! This is CPA Career Path Podcast with Rosey Flaherty, CPA MSA, where we dive into thrilling journeys in the world of accounting. This episode is proudly sponsored by Chapman University's Archibald College of Business and Economics, located in beautiful sunny Southern California. Are you thinking about pursuing a master's in accounting? Chapman's MSA program is tailored for ambitious professionals like you. With intimate class size and a collaborative atmosphere, you will receive personalized attention from world-class faculty who bring extensive industry expertise to the classroom. Enhance your accounting skills, fulfill CPA license requirements, and elevate your career with Chapman's flexible MSA program. Discover more and apply today at chapman.edu/MSA. You mentioned about you were planning to be on the sailboat for years, and you stopped working about mid-2019. So now, my question for you is that how do you handle the financial in those years if you're not working?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we were planning to kind of just take a year off, right? We had enough money to live off of savings. And so the plan was going to do that. And then we would maybe either pick up odd jobs, or I considered doing like gig working, right? So like finding different opportunities as an accountant and as a CPA, and just picking up different gigs. I did a little bit of gig work early pandemic before I actually came back to Crowe. Doing something completely different for a career, but it was an interesting foray. And I think if people have, right, like the mindset to kind of wake up and work for themselves and like can be very project oriented and deadline driven, it's definitely something that could work well for a person. But yes, just saving money and having a plan was also really important for us.
I feel like you were so brave. You and your husband both were so brave to do so. I don't think my husband and I could do that. Like, we couldn't even take like a month off to do something that we like, not talking about a year off at least. And so I was like, wow, that's so cool. And you also mentioned about building a really strong relationship in your career. And I think this is very important for a lot of young professions in accounting, that we need to build relationship. This career is not just about math. It's not just about getting the job done, but it's about people. It's about relationship. So can you share with me how you build your relationship and how you maintain that relationship to make it become a very strong one for the long term?
Yeah, so building, maintaining, honestly, it's something you got to work at, right? Like you've got to be intentional. I think a lot of my success in building relationships and just having really deep and meaningful connection with people was through being curious, right? And just like getting to know different people, being vulnerable as well, I think has really helped me in my personal development with other people. And I've stayed in contact with mentors, right? So making sure that you've got somebody's email address or phone number on hand, right? Like it's saved in your phone, even if you leave that company, and checking in every once in a while as you get further in your career, right? Like taking some time to stop and say thank you to the people that are responsible for you being here today. I think that those things are really important. So building my network, being a part of different organizations within the firm and outside the firm, right? And again, just being intentional about following up with people. And sometimes it's organic too, right? You don't always need to follow up with someone about something related to your development or something specific, right? You can just check in and say like, hey, how are you? Like, what's new for you right now and what's going on? I think having that mix of some personal, right, some professional as you go along the way, right, that really builds goodwill and longevity in relationships.
So you mentioned a good point, checking with everyone in a while. So how often do you check in with people that you have known for a long time, and how long the conversation normally lasts during that quick check-in call?
Yeah, so I would say some people I have checked in with, right, once a quarter. And that check-in, it might be 10 to 15 minutes, right? Sometimes it might be longer. Other people, right? Like I've got my go-to people that I maybe talk to every single day, right? And I try to make sure that I am diverse in my type of people, right? Like I've got young, old, just different type of people. People that work in accounting, people that don't work in accounting. And just having different people that you can tap into and get advice from, I think is so important, right? So I've got sailing friends that I'll be like, hey, like this happened to me at work. And they're actually also professionals. They do something very different. But my one girlfriend, she's an architect, right? And so I'll lean into her and just like, I had this experience, how would you approach this? Or like, I'm dealing with this, right? Can you give me some advice? And being able to see something from a different point of view, I think is so helpful. You think about the architect mindset, right? They're creatives. They are people focused, right? People forward, and just very different than an accountant or somebody that's an engineer or, doctor, you name it. I think just having different types of people that you can check in with is so important for, again, just your growth and development, both personally and professionally.
Oh, that's a good point because now I'm looking back to my circle. I think all I know is mostly just CPAs. So I wanted to expand my circle a little bit more. Well, I do know someone outside of CPA is probably my real estate agent. So
I love that. I also have a real estate agent friend, and I check in with her a good bit too. So, yeah, just having different types of people, right? Like different professions, whether it's blue collar, white collar, just whatever it is. I think just being able to check in with different types of people and connecting back. So, we talked about a little bit about mentors, right? So, early in my career, I was not very intentional about mentors. When I came to public, and I was exposed to more people and just more formalized career advice. I learned about mentors, right, and sponsors and people that are allies as well for you, like in a room, maybe when you're not there. And as I developed my career, I got a lot more intentional around, okay, this is my mentor, right? Like this might be my career coach on paper or my manager on paper, but I need somebody that can help me in my development, right? Like help me as I'm working towards the goals that I'm setting for myself. So my mentor, and then finding sponsors. For me, sponsors in my firm came about through my work ethic, right? And like people getting to know me as a person and um, being on time with deliverables, being personable, right? Building good relationships. And so when I wasn't in the room, my sponsor is going to bat for me. A really great example of a sponsor for myself was it's actually how I came back to Crowe. So I leave Crowe in 2019. We do the boat thing. Pandemic happens. We get back from pandemic. And I'm like, okay, I've got a lot of options. I'm not really quite sure what I want to do right now, but I phoned some friends. I was like, hey, like, what's it like being a consultant? Like, what are you up to? Just different people that I had worked with. And I get a phone call from a former mentor. At this point, they're a sponsor, and they're at the firm, and they said, hey, I put your name in the hat for a position in our campus recruiting team. I think that you'd be amazing at it. And I had to stop and think. I was like, wait a second. I built this career as a CPA, right? I worked so hard to get the CPA license. And now I'm seeing an opportunity where I can go into campus recruiting slash HR. Do I really want to do this? But what I loved was this person, right? Like I'm nowhere around and this person thought of me. They're putting my name in the hat, right? They're advocating for me. And that was inspiring just from the perspective of, wow, when I was in front of this person and working with this person, right? Like the impact that I had, that's amazing. And I said, you know what? Let me entertain this. And so, I did some research, had a couple of interviews, had some conversations. I asked to meet some of the team, and I decided, you know what? Let me give this campus recruiting thing a shot. And really, Rosie, what was pivotal for me was as a diverse person, right? A Black woman, and having my CPA, going into classrooms and onto college campuses and being able to talk to students about where I've come from, right? Like what my journey was, how I've gotten here. I thought that that could hold a lot of weight with people and help, right, to improve diversity within the profession, help show people, right? Like you don't have to have perfectly crafted plan on paper and know exactly what you're going to do, right? Things are going to shift, they're going to mold, they're going to adjust, right? But when opportunity knocks, listen.
That's so true, because it's actually happened to me as well that as I mentioned to you, I work in private. So when I went to public, I thought for sure audit was my career. I was planning to be a senior manager, partner. I have this year like all planned out. After the first year, I was like, this was not for me. And so just, you never know what happened to you. I moved to Thailand. I absolutely love it. It's just so crazy. And so, as you just mentioned, it's just there are a lot of options at the CPAs. And also there are a lot of opportunities comes. You just need to keep your mind open and also check it out. Don't just say, I'm doing all this work. I expect to do this. I expect to be like at this level at this time. But you never know. Another opportunity could come up just like you. Become a recruiter. Like if I were you, I would ask myself the same question. Oh my God, I studied so much for my CPA exam. I worked so much in this public accounting to be like you were even to be the audit manager. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so you already achieve a certain level. It's not easy for you to shift to recruiter. So now I would love to hear in your new position as a recruiter, what's the difference from being a recruiter as being an audit manager? How's the day to daily life looks like, and how much joyful every day is like?
Yeah. So I think what's been a lot of fun being in the campus recruiting space has been, right, I get to bring jobs to students where they're at, right? And just bring opportunities to people and help them kickstart their career. I really am enjoying the early career space. I'm not sure that I would want to do experienced recruiting necessarily, but early career is so much fun, right? Like the joy that they have with their first internship, or maybe it's their first job, right out of college. It's pretty awesome. And again, just helping to pave the way for diverse students to come into a field, right, and seize opportunities is so, so important. So I've made my way so I was a staff, right, in industry, so a staff accountant in industry, senior staff accountant, made my way actually to manager within industry, decided, okay, let me join public, see what that's about. So restarted over, right? So came back down. Now I'm a staff in public, make my way to senior staff in public, manager in public. That's when I leave. And now I decided to come in as a recruiter, right? So I was a temp campus recruiter and pretty quickly promoted to a senior university talent acquisition manager and, promoted again. And now an assistant director. And I focus a little bit more on operations now. So I'm helping the business with their budgeted hiring and partnering with the recruiters to understand, let's get on campus and find students that are going to be able to head to this specific office location. And so I'm getting to do a lot more ops, like behind the scenes. But the time that I did get to spend as a recruiter, like on campus, talking to students, so, so much fun. It's draining, right? But I would call myself an ambivert, right? Like I'm mostly extroverted, but after a day on campus, you're just like, okay, I need to recharge and like just be by myself. But I think the access that I've had to just bring joy, right, to people and just help them kickstart to their careers. I had no idea where my career was going to end up over the last 14 years, but it's been a fun ride. And I think it all hinges on, right, like that decision way back when to go become an accountant, and then the decision to get my CPA license and keep up my CPA. I will add that. Like I'm still an active CPA and my firm pays for my license. I do my CPE. Definitely not going to let that go. And at some point, right, I'm going to get back into accounting and like do accounting work. But I've had so many doors and so many opportunities opened because of the decisions that I made. And it all hinges, right, on that accounting career path. And so I am so appreciative to be a CPA, to be able to call myself that, and just excited for what's to come in the future.
Yeah, I think I enjoy a lot seeing like interns start working at the firm. They like so eager to learn, but they like so fresh. And they're going to just pick up whatever you tell them or show them or train them. I give a lot of credits to intern, but interns out there, I just want to tell you all that you're so cute and so sweet because you like just recent graduate students and show up with like all the suit, heavy suit, so serious when people in the office just wearing like business casual. And so we're like, you don't need to be that serious. We know you are serious, but you don't need to be like that. And then they're always so like, yes, I will do this, I will do that. Like, I just feel like they're so green in the profession that you can just teach them anything, show them anything, they will just absorb all of that. That's what I see the beauty of internships that I feel there. I love interns. I love A1s. They're just so fresh and they are just a white paper that you can just teach them anything right after
Yes.
college.
Yes, yeah. I didn't get to do an internship in my college career path. I was taking course overload, and again, I graduated in 3 years, and so there really wasn't time for me to be able to do an internship. And so I felt a little bit of a disservice, right? Because I didn't get to have that peek behind the curtain of public accounting. But what I tell students is 100%, if you can intern, do it, right? Go find an internship, industry, public, wherever it is. Do an internship so that you can try before you buy. It's so important. And, looking back, I kind of wish I had the opportunity to do an internship, but I think at the same time, right? Like the trajectory that I've seen and the experiences that I've had, they've paved the way for me in a different way. So internships are so important though. And it is one of the fun parts of being a recruiter. Again, being able to bring an intern along the way, right? And just see how excited they are about starting their career and just becoming, right, a professional. It's so, so fun.
Yeah,
It's,
I absolutely agree.
yeah,
It's so much fun going to the classroom and talk to them about this profession. I enjoy that a lot when I volunteer at the state society and all the questions and it's just like, oh, this is amazing. All of these people, they're going to be future CPAs and then they're going to work so hard for this profession. We need you. So that's just amazing. In the previous statement, you mentioned that you would come back to like accounting work, client service work, but it looks like you also like self-employed, like freelance CPA. So are you actually still doing accounting now on the top of being a recruiter?
so no, not actively right now. So at the beginning of public accounting, I was doing a little bit, right, of like gig work and decided to really just focus on professional career. I'll help some friends, right, to do kind of like a financial audit of their spending and like help them look at expenses and like with budgets and that type of thing. But no, nothing I'm doing right now formally on the side. I think that for a while, right, my return to public, I was like, all right, let me focus on what I have going on right in front of me, right, and just like learning the ropes and just getting through different things. But the plan eventually would be I'm considering doing some volunteering for not-for-profits and kind of just get my accounting fun that way by being able to volunteer and help in an accounting capacity.
Gotcha. So you are thinking about like board of member at a nonprofit organization, something like that?
Potentially, or definitely also opportunities, right? Where like you can do volunteer match and people are looking for help to kind of just get their accounting organized, or they're not for profit, might be getting ready to go through an audit, right? And so like they need somebody that's can help their staff accountant, right? Like get things situated. Not anything official, but right now I think some type of volunteer opportunity is what I'm looking forward to.
So when you transit your career from being an audit manager to campus recruiter, like now as assistant director, did you experience a pay cut because the position in audit manager, I would imagine, is way more stressful, so it will way higher demand job, so the pay will be higher than recruiting. Is that true, or correct me if I'm wrong?
So I did not experience a downgrade. So the downgrade that I had in my career, right, was actually going from industry into public, very small, but it was still okay, starting over, right, a little bit. So when I left the firm, came back, I was actually brought in at very similar to what I was making as an audit manager and have increased my salary. And so I think a lot of that is having my CPA credentials, even though I'm not actively performing as a CPA, like at the moment in time, right? There's still weight and recognition towards being a CPA. Another benefit.
Yes, that's a benefit, because that would be another concern that when you shift your career like that, you may have to face with a financial issue, but it did not happen to you. So that's a bonus right there.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and you also, I just want to go back to the network question, building network question, because I forgot to ask one question that you mentioned about sponsor. And so I think not many people in the audience, they may get familiar with the concept of sponsor. Can you explain the difference between a sponsor and a mentor? And I would say, how can you ask someone to be your sponsor? Because ask someone to be a mentor is not difficult, but ask someone to be a sponsor, that's a different story. So I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, so for me, mentor versus sponsor, the difference. So a mentor is going to be somebody that you might be seeking out for something very specific, right? Like you might be trying to write better emails as an example, or you might be trying to work on your presentation skills. And so a mentor is going to be somebody that you're able to go to informally, formally, but they're able to kind of help you with very specific things, right? You might go into those meetings prepared, unprepared, but it's a relationship where back and forth, right? Like you're going to give a little in the mentorship and then you're going to receive a little. And so you definitely should have many, many mentors. A sponsor is somebody that is at the same company as you. They're somebody that has a leadership position and someone that is in the room that when you're not in the room, right? So it might be the partner of your engagements. It might be a senior manager or, somebody that's a couple of levels above you, but they're in the room where decisions are happening. And to ask someone to become your sponsor, it's through your work effort, right? Your work product, through doing a good job, right? Delivering on time, delivering quality, just showing who you are as a professional, right? And that you can be relied on, you can be depended on. And once you build kind of that rapport, it'll be a lot easier to ask for someone to be your sponsor. And to ask someone to be your sponsor, right? Again, I think it's through your work ethic. And then I am vying for this position, or I really want to get exposure to this. You are going to go have a conversation with that person and pick their brain, right? And you're going to ask them, could you see me moving into this role? Could you see me picking up this experience? And as you have that conversation and it molds, you could ask them, right? Would you be willing to advocate for me, right? When I'm not in the room, like, again, be my sponsor when this topic comes up, right? Would you be willing to be my sponsor? That's one way that you could pursue a sponsor, but your sponsor is going to be somebody in the firm that you're working in. Again, a couple leaderships above. A mentor, they might not work at the same place as you. They might not even do the same thing that you do. And you can have mentors at different levels, right? I could have a peer that's a mentor. I could have a peer that's a director above me, a peer or somebody that's a level below me, like a senior manager or a manager. So mentors can be different levels, but your sponsor is going to be somebody that's definitely in a leadership role above you.
Gotcha. I hope audience will have a better understanding about sponsor and mentor, because I think through a lot of conversations we say so much about having a mentor, how important it is. But when you start moving up in your career, having a mentor is not enough. Like if you just start your career at the beginning, having a mentor may be enough for you. But when you start moving up, having a sponsor will help you a lot when you move up in your career in that ladder. So we're going through a lot of jobs, a lot of tips and advice, and a lot of adventure stories in your career path. And I was wondering if you can provide the last maybe 2 or 3 tips and advice to young professionals, how they can advance their career, how they can maintain their strong mental health in this stressful profession.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you asked about mental health and just taking care of yourself, right? Like self-care is so important. I think along the way, I have learned so many things. I graduated from college and wasn't really keyed in, right, to mental health too much, but there came a point in 2013 that I got a therapist. And it's a game changer, right? Like having somebody that is helping you to fine tune who you are as a person. And it's outside of the work, right? And outside of the career, just like focusing on you. You might go into therapy and, complain about work. You might complain about different things, but you're doing that work so you can get to the core of the problem and like what needs to be addressed. And so my first piece of advice is definitely taking your mental health seriously and, as you need to seek a counselor or a therapist, but having somebody to help you fine tune is so, so important. I've done it a couple times. So like at different points in my life, right? Like I've been like, okay, yep, I'm going to go to therapy for a while and kind of just work on fine tuning. And so that's been so important. A fun one. So one of my girlfriends, I was talking to her one time and she's like, yeah, like I have once a month, I have a day where I just do nothing. I stay in bed. I don't cook. I don't do like no errands, no nothing. And she's like, I watch trash television. So for her, it's reality TV. And she's like, I'll order in for food, but it's my do nothing day. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. Like, I don't know that I could do that, but it sounds cool. And I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And you got to have boundaries, right, around this do nothing day. And so the boundaries were I would turn my phone off the entire day, right? And so, like, if my husband's not home, I'll text him and be like, hey, I'm going incommunicado, right? My phone's going to be off. I love you. I will talk to you tomorrow, right? This is my do nothing day. I either made sure, like, I already had some Trader Joe's that was made in the fridge, or I'm ordering, right? Delivery. But just being able to sit and recharge, and whether you meditate, whether you read a book, whether you sleep all day, that's okay. But I think we are so go, 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 right? And we're so used to external stimulation and just like our environment, right? The doom scrolling and just all the things. We're used to all of that. Sometimes you just need like some peace, right? And just like za. So I definitely try to have some do nothing days, like a couple times in a quarter. Sometimes you might need two, right? Like in busy season, you might say, hey, middle of the month, right, Sunday and end of the month Sunday are going to be my do nothing days. And I know it gets kind of hard, right? If you've got pets and kids and other responsibilities, but craft some type of do nothing day into your world and your environment that works like for you. I think that those two things are really important. And I think my last piece of advice, honestly, is really just have fun. A lot of people don't know about me. My hobby is music festivals. I go to a lot of music festivals. I love it, right? Like it's what gets me through the year. Have fun, right? Like life can't all be work, right? You've got to play as well. And so find that thing for you, right? What is your niche? And just lean into that. And so, yeah, for me, music festivals are like my happy place and what I really look forward to doing throughout the year.
Wow, I like do nothing day. That's pretty cool. It's not easy though. As you mentioned, when you have more responsibilities, it's not easy to have like do nothing day. Maybe you can have a do nothing hour, do nothing 2 hours. For 2 hours, for 3 hours, it's probably even better than nothing.
Yeah, and I would say just be intentional, right? So like you might not be able to take a whole 24 hours, but you could take, 4 to 6 hours. And in that time, right, define it to where, hey, I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna hang out, right? Like without any interruptions or distractions. And it's gonna be okay, right? Like other people can have your time any other point, but this 4 to 6 hours is gonna be for you. And so just being intentional about that, wherever you find it, I think is so, so important. Another thing I do at work, I have the focus time, right, in Outlook. And so I try to make sure like I block out a part of the day where for an hour, right? And I might not, it might be my lunch. I might shift my lunch to later, right? And it's my hour to go do something, whether it's a walk or maybe I'm actually cooking a lunch, but just doing something for yourself. I think make sure you're pouring back into your cup is a way to get through those tough times and through busy season and all of the craziness, right, that we see in this accountant life that we have.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's funny when you mention about create like do not disturb or like block your calendar, like focus time in your calendar. So just be mindful when you set that up in your calendar because I have a funny story about this. I have my calendar like, oh, let me just block this for focus time, block this for focus time. People still book meetings, still book meetings in those focus time. And I was like, this is not working. I need to do something else. And then maybe I put too many focus time. Then maybe I need to put less because my schedule is pretty full all
Hmm.
day. If I don't put focus time, I cannot get the job done. And so that's very tough that you need to be mindful, set your focus time, that it is reasonable and is achievable as well. You cannot just put focus time all day because people will need to set up meetings to you with you and you need to attend those meetings. So that's something I learned that I just put focus time this time and that time. But nope, you cannot. I cannot do that. Just be mindful about that. But thank you so much for your time today. And I love all your tips and advice and all the fun stories you share with my audience. And looking forward to stay connected.
Yes, thank you so much, Rosie. I appreciate you, just your energy, your reaching out, and I'm super excited, right, for us to continue to build a relationship.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. You have a wonderful holiday season.
You too, Rosie.
Thank you, Eva.